Rain tapped gently against the cracked window pane the day Eli Turner decided to prove his sister wrong. The world outside was gray, but the storm inside him was far fiercer. For years, his sister Hannah had called him the dreamer who couldn't finish anything. She'd laughed when he'd mentioned the Navy, saying, "Eli, they don't take people who can't even fix a flat tire." That laughter had burned. It became fuel. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you were watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The Turners had grown up in a small town where dreams didn't last long. Their father had left when Eli was 10, and Hannah had stepped in. Practical, sharp, always the responsible one. She worked double shifts to keep them afloat while Eli drifted through odd jobs. To her, his daydreams about ships and duty were just another childish fantasy. But she didn't see the nights he stayed awake studying Navy manuals he found online. She didn't know about the mornings he ran before sunrise, lungs burning, pushing himself past exhaustion. Eli had failed before, but not this time. When he left for basic training, Hannah didn't come to see him off. She'd just shaken her head and muttered, "You'll be home in a month." He almost was. The first weeks were hell. He was slower, smaller, and constantly out of breath. Others laughed. Some encouraged him. But every sneer, every echo of his sister's words, became another mile he ran, another set he pushed through. There was one night, though, when he nearly quit. The cold bit through his uniform, the sky a dark, endless expanse. His instructor had shouted until his throat bled, calling Eli a liability. That night, sitting alone on his bunk, Eli stared at his trembling hands. Maybe Hannah was right. But then, he remembered something his mother used to say before she passed. "Courage isn't loud, Eli. It's just choosing to try again tomorrow." He did. Days turned to months. His body hardened, his mind sharpened. By the time graduation day came, Eli wasn't the same man. He stood in perfect formation beneath the rising sun, the ocean breeze carrying the scent of salt and pride. And in the stands, unexpectedly, was Hannah. She sat stiffly, clutching her purse, eyes darting across rows of identical uniforms until they landed on him. For a moment, she didn't recognize her own brother. He stood taller, jaw firm, his uniform pressed to perfection. When he turned his head slightly, their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them, disbelief, pride, and perhaps a hint of regret. When the ceremony ended, Hannah hesitated before approaching. She'd always been the strong one, but now her voice trembled.
Eli,
she said quietly. "I didn't think you'd do it." Eli smiled, not smugly, not bitterly, just softly. "I know," he said. "That's why I had to." They stood there for a moment, the crowd moving around them, the world rushing by, and for once neither had anything to prove. But this wasn't the end. 2 years later, fate would test them both again. A massive storm hit their hometown, roads flooded, power lines down. Hannah's small bakery, the one she'd built with every ounce of her savings, was on the edge of collapse. She called no one, but Eli heard the news through a local update while stationed nearby. Without hesitation, he requested leave and drove through the storm. When he arrived, the roof had nearly caved in. Hannah stood inside, drenched, frantically trying to move supplies before the water took them. "Eli," she gasped, barely recognizing him through the rain. He didn't answer, just grabbed a beam, using his strength to brace the collapsing frame while she ran for safety. The storm roared like a beast, but he held the same way he'd held on through every insult, every doubt, every failure. When it was over, the bakery was half gone. But Hannah wasn't. She rushed to him, crying, her hands shaking as she touched his soaked uniform. "You saved my life," she whispered. Eli just smiled. "You taught me to be strong," he said. "You just never thought I'd learn it this way." For the first time in years, she laughed, a real, broken, beautiful laugh through her tears. And in that moment, she saw not the boy who dreamed too big, but the man who'd become everything he'd promised. Weeks later, when the town gathered to rebuild, Hannah insisted on hanging a photo on the bakery wall, Eli standing tall in his navy blues, water-streaked and smiling. Beneath it, she wrote 5 simple words. "He proved me wrong beautifully." Because sometimes, the ones we doubt the most are the ones who rise the highest. And sometimes all it takes is a storm to reveal who they truly are. Because strength isn't born from approval, it's born from persistence, from pain, from the quiet decision to keep going when no one believes in you. So, wherever you're watching from, remember this. Your worth isn't measured by who doubts you, but by what you do when they do. Because faith in yourself is louder than any voice that says you can't. And maybe, just maybe, one day the world will see you standing proud in your own shade of navy blue.